So a little bit of context setting before I start. I manage the financial cloud services, Azure Cloud, work with a lot of enterprise customers within India. So I just wanted to set off with this first slide as to why do we build technology. So if you look at this is the logarithmic scale across 2000 years, right? Technology has exploded at different points of time. And there have been events which have shaped how humans have transformed themselves, and correspondingly the GDP of entire nations. If you look at it, some of it is telegraph here, there's flight there, there's PC, there is internet, there's smartphone, and there's cloud. Most of these technologies we are very comfortable with and we consume day in and day out. What's different when it came to AI is what I would like to just call out. Most of these technologies, and pretty much everything that we do as to building technology, is to solve for a business problem. We use this to solve for some challenges which are impeding progress. Eventually, the outcome of that ensures that there's a transformation at work. It also helps, of course, in addition to solving the problem, it frees up time and effort and allows humans to do more. When it comes to AI, the difference between other problem-solving natures and AI is the fact that AI cuts across in terms of patterns, which means that unlike electricity, for example, AI is a pattern, right? You can use it across any vertical that you wish to, and it is pervasive in the way that it is deployed. So this is the journey to agentic AI, and like a lot of other speakers also spoke about, I will stop at November 2022 when ChatGPT first was launched. ChatGPT was the first application at that time to hit 100 million users. Can somebody tell me how long it took for ChatGPT to reach 100 million users? Sorry? 2 months, actually. So 5 days was 1 million, but to reach to 100 million users, it took 2 months, 60 days to be precise. But what it did is, it gave everyone a view of how AI would be. I mean, AI has been there for the longer time. It has been primarily under the hoods, right? Some applications would deploy it, large search engines would deploy it, but it's always been under the hood. It took ChatGPT to unlock the potential of what humans could do with AI. ChatGPT has always been hosted on Azure. Since the time it was incubated, before COVID, it has been a project which Microsoft worked with closely, and it saw the light of day on November 22nd. And that's when it first gave the people the ability to say that I can interact with an application, and it can respond back to me. It can talk to me. I have capabilities which allow me to engage for prolonged periods of time. And that's the unlocking the multimodal capabilities, as it is called, right? It was a big deal because people started using it to write poetry, create birthday cards, pretty much everything. And that's the time when Microsoft, right? Because we had a partnership with them, and that's the way it worked, is that everything that is there as part of OpenAI models are available for all our customers also. And most of those calls we started getting is November 22nd, is primarily where we are with our customer engagements. What happened from as each model evolved from 3.5 to 4 to 4.5 and now 5 is that the ability of each of these models to think deeper and solve for problems which we could not anticipate is something which has become real. So ChatGPT 5 was launched about 20 days ago. There's already talk of ChatGPT 6. And the race towards developing the better models, primarily, if you look at what's happening in that space, is about memory. The reason why memory is important is that while you can solve for problems and tasks with LLM models, which are generally a supercluster, you hit it via an API and consume that, And you have SLMs, which at some point of time will fit on our devices like PCs and phones. But the ability to reason beyond a certain measure and to respond back or do tasks which are multi-turn in terms of context is something which needs memory. So even all these models as they evolve, and you will see the progression, I don't want to get into tech details, but they all had increasing memory. That memory is, obviously, if you look at how it's mimicking a brain, the ability to remember something and use it in the context leads to a more successful engagement. And that's where we have now what is called agent or agentic. The idea is that as opposed to solving for just one problem, can it solve for a series of problems? Today, AI excels in pattern recognition. That pattern recognition means that you can throw it a paper, a doctor's prescription of any varying, bad handwriting. It will do an excellent job as long as it can see the document. So the pattern recognition lends itself to pretty much every business area that you will see. What's making this big change happen is the fact that with that additional memory that it has got, the ability to remember, you can start using it for larger tasks. If you use Copilot, ChatGPT, most of them have got a couple of features which we call researcher and analyst. The idea is that you can give a task to perform, let it think through that problem statement, and you can be as precise as you want in terms of prompting, but you will get an output which far exceeds what you would have been able to do. And the best thing is they actually shows the entire markdown, right? You can actually see the actions that it is doing. This will get more powerful as it goes. So for any customer or consumer to engage with the latest and greatest AI platform, you don't have to do anything. The app or the experience that you get today will continue to be upgraded. So when ChatGPT 5 was launched, GPT-5 on ChatGPT, GPT-5 on Copilot, GPT-5 across the entire Microsoft ecosystem of products. This is how the launch went. So this is where, and this is generally as software testing labs at work, there are ratings. It is, if you look at it, right, it's reached very close to human parity. It's not there yet, it's reached very close to human parity. It's probably a couple of iterations of releases which will get you there. Today, multi-agents plus human in loop, which is this one, is this close. What happens is, this allows us to do a series of tasks which we never thought possible. And that is where, today, we imagine a scenario, and other speakers have also spoken to it, we will see these APIs or these experiences as a companion, as a co-pilot, as another employee. Now, this visual allegory, right, I generally pause at this point and ask a question as to what do you see what do you think or what goes on your mind when you see this? Maybe somebody could volunteer with an answer. That is true. That is true. In fact, that came up for a conversation if with ChatGPT 5, right? There was a. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll just so that came up, right? In fact, what was the observation was that people have got emotional about LLMs. Like they said, don't take away my O-Mini, I love it. It's warm tones and things like that. Now what we did as part of our back-end operation is we put more warmth into that. It just goes to prove that humans love to interact with something which responds back with creativity. But to your question about it looks cold, right? Things like that. There are settings which can change the temperature of the interaction. In addition to voice, tonality, pretty much everything, you can customize it to make it sound like you want. But it's fascinating, right? You're actually looking to see it looks cold. But if you think about it in technology terms, it's just an API. Sitting somewhere, you're hitting the API, you don't notice latency, you talk to it, you interact with it, it's there. But we tend to give a lot of human attributes, right? And that's how it will be. And that is one of the reasons why, as I said, right, agentic will work when humans will try to use it and start, engaging with it and getting it to do more and more tasks. So that's the reason why I left this. Any other observations? Yes. Sorry? A robo in a human loop. Is that what you see? Yes, which is true, right? So effectively, we're giving it a kind of a persona of a robo, but it doesn't exist. I mean, it's just an API. It's just there, out there. You feel that it is personal. You feel that it is solving a problem for you. It exists only as an ephemeral edge endpoint which you connect to as an API. And what happens with this, right? The previous image which I spoke about, some observations have been that the grip of this robo seems to be too firm, right? I mean, it looks like it's going to crush me. So there are different emotions which come as part of this. The takeaway generally from this, at least that's what I would expect everybody, is that what can you do with it? What is the potential of this kind of technology which you never had access to, and it's pervasive, right? It's residing on all your phones. You open up ChatGPT, you open up Copilot, this piece of technology is with you. What do you do with it, right? How do you decide what next? Do you use it to upgrade your skills? Do you use it to interact with it? And you can do that, right? Today you can switch between any language you wish on the Copilot bot. Of course, I don't want to demo it now, but that's the nature of it. It's just going to get better. And that brings me to the next topic on frontier firms. For the longest time, generative AI technologies, right, has been a preserve of a few, which means that organizations, generally which are frontier firms, while they have increased productivity and output, what happens is that the gains that they make obviously leads to a series of technology innovations which they have, but it doesn't get diffused across everybody. It's only this one occasion, right, or an opportunity across many years, because eventually what happens is somebody gains a lead, that technology is not available for everybody to diffuse. This is one instant, right, at this point, across the history, where every person has got the same LLM and access to it, or a slice of it, which you can decide what you want to do with. Whether you want to use it to create a new app, whether you want to create a new experience, whether you want to create a new coding buddy, all of these are happening. And that's one of the reasons why there's a proliferation of AI-driven experiences, right? You see everybody's creating AI experiences. The reason is simple. It's possible. It's something which could not be done 2 years ago. It's possible now, and anybody in this room can get up and say, look, I want to do something different which I have not done today. I can do that. And that's the concept of a frontier firm. Microsoft firmly believes that every person, every consumer, customer on this earth should have access to the same technology which you do every day. So talk Teams, you talk M3, Microsoft 365, all these technologies are the same, right? I mean, at any level in the hierarchy of your organization, access to tools is similar. And that's where we define this term called frontier firm. The idea of diffusing technology to every person, whoever it is, right? And have the ability to, you can be the leader, you can be the change that you want to drive. So from, as I said, November 2022 is when the first call started coming to us, right? Over a couple of years, we have a good, fair idea of where organizations are. And you saw that again, right? Some segmentation on which in terms of probably a quadrant view of how customers are, where they are. We define them as 3 phases. The first is phase 1, where a human with an assistant, which is where the traditional Copilot, coding buddies, peer programming, all of that was the first wave of how these agents would be diffused into every experience that you own. That was the first phase, and that's where a lot of these, this actually made a lot of traction, where we said a Copilot on every desktop, a Copilot on every PC, Copilot on every phone, Copilot everywhere. This is now moving ahead to what is called the digital colleagues, where you have pair programmers, right? Coding is a good reference plane to get feedback, because in the developer ecosystem world, most of it is a closed loop feedback, right? You code, can you code faster? What are the output? How much of code check-in, code check-out? Because we own, Microsoft owns GitHub, we have a lot of insights as to what's happening. And that's where this human agent team, taking on specific tasks and dividing it among those two tag teams and performing tasks. Eventually, as things go, and that's where we say playing over time, is a phase 3, where it will be human-led and agent-operated. Now, I cannot cite too many examples of this because, as I said, everybody is working to see what can be done. But the idea is that at each point of time, whoever has made an investment with using these, and if the ROI, and as somebody spoke about ROI also, the right investments lead to the right outcomes. So what do we call becoming frontier, right? As I said, the idea is to diffuse technology to every person. So the first one that Microsoft does is enriching individual employee experiences. The other is about reinventing customer engagement. And you will find several examples of this in the sourcing, servicing side of things. A lot of customer service engagements are benefiting from infusion of AI. I'll talk through it in some more detail. And of course, reshaping business process, right? So traditionally, the front office, mid office, back office functions have not undergone change. They have probably iterated step by step. The pace of innovation which has been done has been slow. It is now possible to look at a process, define a new straight-through process, which will be a replacement for the process, and ensure that you're able to follow it through. The ability to do that is something which did not exist. Even 4 years ago, when all of us who have been in the tech field have been struggling with, because the minute it comes to multi-turn, most of the bots and other experiences which were created would fail. So this is the Microsoft, primarily our digital transformation pillars. I'll try and apply it to some of them to a couple of industries and set some context. So this is Kore.ai and Microsoft, right? Better together as a frontier firm. Going back to the thing, right? Kore has got, and they broke it down into 3 different product lines that they run. One is for process, one is for employees, and one is for the service side of things. It aligns very well with what Microsoft does, right? Because Microsoft generally is a productivity-specific focused application, a business-focused application, and you have the ability to do what you wish to in a enterprise confined, right? In an enterprise guardrail. So how does Kore and Microsoft see it working together? For those 3 digital engagement experience pillars I spoke about, the approach from Kore is to have something for AI for work, which is for the employee experience. There's AI for process, which is the process automation, and there's AI for service, which is the customer experience. Any questions? So what is the advantage of a Microsoft and AI and Kore.ai combined tech stack? Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft Teams, Azure, our omni-channel experiences and biz apps is generally what everybody consumes. The ability of Kore.ai to kind of create layers which will enable productivity of a team or an individual or an organization is there across, right? So you talk about, for example, an HR agent, an IT agent, a recruit agent, or you would say, I want all these 3 agents to be bundled into a super agent, as long as it is able to do the multi-turn functionality. That's what Kore is doing along with Microsoft. So these are the strengths, right? Microsoft generally meets customers where they are. Kore's focus is primarily on orchestrating and building AI agents for all personas. The idea is that Microsoft's strengths and Kore.ai's focus leads to a better together story in terms of the fact that, or rather wise, that we are infrastructure-wise and app consumer-wise, we are fairly prolific, right? A lot of financial services customers, pretty much everybody uses Microsoft 365, Dynamics, biz apps. So where there's the best place, right, to infuse a process layer or an automation layer or a service layer. So this is how, and again, this is another view, right? Uh, in the customer servicing, sourcing, all of these areas, an omni-channel experience or a voice-driven experience or a digital experience, you want to infuse something new. Let's say a voice has to be infused into a mobile app. The ability to do that is much better when you have a partner like Kore.ai working with the Microsoft ecosystem. So I just thought I'll probably bring up a slide where I look at all the top use cases for a couple of industries. The mileage will vary. Some of you might probably see it differently, but I just wanted to bring up 2 or 3 different verticals and kind of show what's happening in them, right? So the top use cases, AI use cases for insurance, for example, is modernizing claims, modernizing underwriting process, transforming customer service. The common point, and that's what I want you to look at, is process and service are the 2 areas which are always in need for support, right? You can make massive changes in terms of customer experience, and you can have a significant amount of gains in terms of ROI. It's always about processes and customer service. Look at banking, right? Transforming the contact center. Just primarily your front office functions, your back office functions, everything to do with customer service comes there. The same goes for empowering relationship managers or enhancing marketing effectiveness. And of course, again, modernize lending and mortgage process. Similarly, if I look at capital markets, similarly, it's all about augmenting the client experience, empowering advisory and sales, improving risk and compliance, and automating operations. Again, process and service. So AI is shifting business today. Every individual, as I said, every process, every organization, every industry is being infused with AI. As happens, this will lead to an explosion of different agents performing tasks together. It is anticipated by 2028, which is 3 years from now, Microsoft has put an estimate that there'll be 1.3 billion agents by 2028. That estimate is seen as conservative by a lot of other organizations. They're saying that the number of agents which will be there will be much more than 1.3. They're estimating it at 1.7 to 20 billion. We don't know, the jury is still out there. But what happens is that when you have this number of agents, you actually need an agent lifecycle management system, right? Because the same problem happened with RPAs in the past. You build a bot, you don't know what the bot is doing, then at some point of time it fades away into existence. Having an active lifecycle management across the entire customer front office, mid office, back office layers is probably key to ensuring that you are able to leverage your investment on AI better. So this is the Microsoft Enterprise AI commitment. Your data is your data. Microsoft will never look at it and use it for training. Customer copyright protection. Primarily, fundamentally, anything that you do with AI technologies emerging from Microsoft, we will provide legal support all the way up to wherever it takes, right, to ensure that your interest or your clauses are preserved. Our approach to privacy and responsible AI is primarily built on a set of guardrails. So whatever technology we incorporate and we put into AI Foundry or we put it into Copilot Studio, it has got a series of guardrails already built in, which we call responsible AI, ensuring that it cannot do, for example, harm. It cannot use profanity. There are a lot of guardrails already built into it when you start your experience itself. Yeah, so that's the final slide. It's built on the Trustworthy AI initiative. The idea is that security, safety, privacy are guardrails to ensure that your commitments with Microsoft and Kore.ai are able to give you meaningful returns. That's the end of my presentation. One last pause for any questions. So today, obviously we'll have to do the math, as I said, right? It's difficult I don't have that number handy, but what we saw about 1.3 billion is the future. It's 3 years from now. It's a potential number. But, sure. transforming the contact center, and obviously you heard that with earlier also as part of a speaker keynote. It's the big thing, right? The ability to make outbound calls, inbound calls, sourcing, servicing, document, and somebody spoke about, right, the fact that they tried to do something 3 years ago in terms of trade finance processing. So it's a very known field because you get trade finance documents are of different countries. Very difficult to process it using traditional techniques. But that's something which has changed. And as I said, right, the benchmark for our success was always that if you can read a physician's handwriting consistently at 95% or thereabouts, you probably cracked it, right? I mean, and you're talking about physicians all across India, giving their prescription documents from all across India is coming, for example. If you're able to get a handle on that and a good 95% accuracy, you probably cracked that part of the puzzle. Sorry, do you have a question?
I just wanted to understand more about empowering relationship managers. Is it not again about contextualizing, modeling at the back end so that the right segmentation is arrived, which itself is, kind of covered in the other points? Can you tell me more about what do you mean by empowering relationship managers?
Empowering relationship managers? Okay, so let me give an example, right? You have a ton of relationship RMs sitting in branches, different branches. The level of, their ability to navigate through a customer problem, you'll probably have one person who's very proficient. I'm just giving an example, right? That person is the ideal persona of a RM in a bank. What would it take if you were to take that same experience of that, the best RM that you have, or a pack of maybe 10, 15 RMs, right? And diffuse that knowledge across everybody. That is what we're trying to solve, right? Because eventually what happens, somebody new to role joins, somebody is tenured. Based on your personality type, it will determine how you influence your customers. We've seen that, right? A good relationship RM, you would want to do more business. The RM logs off, somebody else comes in, your ability or whatever, right? It just waits off. This is human nature. What we're trying to do is and there are different interventions for this. One of them, of course, is sales personalization, sales force personalization, right? Train them, show them how the ideal RM would look like. I'm just giving an example. But as you walk through these contours and you build, okay, what are the KPIs for an RM? What is it that I would put as an effective measure to ensure that all my RMs across retail banking, for example, I'm able to enhance their effectiveness by X%. That becomes, your primary. As long as you have sponsorship, you will be able to see that through. But I'm just giving you, one of the ways that we are addressing this. Great. So thank you, everyone, and wishing everyone a good weekend. Thanks.